For most of the 20th century, the formula for success seemed simple. Work hard, stay loyal to your company, save what you can, and eventually you'll build a comfortable life. That was the promise. But in today's economy, that formula doesn't seem to work anymore. You can work twice as hard as your parents did and still struggle to buy a home, pay for healthcare, or save for retirement. So what changed? Why doesn't working harder automatically make you rich anymore? Let's start with the numbers. Between 1979 and today, worker productivity in the United States rose by about 70%. But hourly wages only went up around 12% in that same time. That means workers have been producing far more value, but they're not getting a fair share of that value back. In other words, the harder people work, the more someone else benefits. Back in the 1950s or 60s, your grandparents might have worked at a factory or local business and bought a home on a single income. The average home cost roughly 2 to 3 times the average annual salary. Today, the median home price in the U.S. is around $420,000, while the median household income is about $75,000. That's more than 5 times the annual income. So even if you're working harder, the math just doesn't add up anymore. What's driving this gap isn't laziness or lack of ambition, it's structural. Technology, globalization, and financialization have completely changed how wealth is created and distributed. In the past, productivity gains were tied to labor. If you built more cars, baked more bread, or typed more reports, you earned more. But now, productivity is often tied to capital, to ownership of technology, data, intellectual property, or financial assets, and that's where the real wealth growth has shifted. Take the stock market, for example. The S&P 500 has risen more than 150% in the last decade. But according to Federal Reserve data, the top 10% of Americans own nearly 90% of all U.S. stocks. That means the majority of people, even those working 60-hour weeks, aren't benefiting from the biggest wealth engine of our time. They're stuck trading hours for dollars, while the wealthy earn money even when they sleep. The idea of hard work used to mean putting in more hours, doing more tasks, or taking on more responsibility. But in a digital economy, hard work doesn't scale, leverage does. Leverage is when your effort produces results far beyond your time input. That's why a YouTuber can upload one video and reach 1 million people overnight, while a teacher can work tirelessly all week and reach 30 students. The difference isn't effort, it's leverage. Technology gives leverage to those who own or control it. Think of Jeff Bezos. He didn't become rich by packing boxes faster than everyone else. He became rich by building a system that could pack and ship millions of boxes automatically. That's not harder work, that's smarter infrastructure. And it's the same pattern you see across the board, from software startups to real estate investors to influencers. They've learned to separate income from labor. Meanwhile, the traditional worker is still told to work harder or go the extra mile. But in most cases, that extra effort doesn't translate into higher pay. A Gallup report from 2023 found that nearly 60% of employees feel disengaged from their jobs, largely because they don't see effort leading to reward. Raises haven't kept pace with inflation, and bonuses are often tied to company profits that don't trickle down. Let's talk inflation for a moment. In 2021 and 2022, inflation hit levels not seen in 4 decades, peaking around 9.1%. Even though inflation cooled to around 3% by 2024, the damage was done. Wages rose, but not enough to offset the cost of essentials. Groceries up 25% since 2019, rents up 30%, insurance premiums and childcare costs skyrocketed. So when people say, just work harder, they're ignoring the reality that hard work can't outrun systemic price increases. And that's not just an American story. In the UK, median earnings adjusted for inflation are barely above what they were in 2007. In Canada, millennials spend almost half their income on housing. In Australia, the average home now costs more than 7 times the average income. Working harder doesn't move you up the ladder, it just keeps you from slipping down. But there's another layer to this. Automation and artificial intelligence are changing what work even means. A McKinsey report estimates that by 2030, up to 30% of current tasks could be automated. That's not just factory work, that's accounting, legal research, customer service, and even parts of journalism. So for many workers, working harder may simply mean competing with algorithms that never sleep and don't need a paycheck. Meanwhile, the people who design or invest in those algorithms capture the value. That's why tech founders, venture capitalists, and investors accumulate massive wealth even when overall productivity doesn't increase much for workers. The system rewards ownership, not effort. It's easy to feel discouraged by this, but understanding it is the first step to breaking free from it. The future belongs to those who learn to combine effort with leverage. Leverage can come from technology, capital, audience, or specialized knowledge. It's about multiplying the effect of your time. A freelancer who builds an online course or automates their business has leverage. An investor who earns dividends or rents while they sleep has leverage. A writer who builds an audience and monetizes digital assets has leverage. In all these cases, they're working smarter, not just harder. Of course, that doesn't mean hard work is useless. It's still the foundation. But in today's economy, hard work alone is like rowing a boat without a sail. You'll move, but slowly and with exhaustion. Leverage is the wind that moves the boat faster. Consider this. In 1980, the average worker could retire comfortably by saving about 10% of their income each year. Today, financial advisors suggest saving 20 to 30%, and even that might not guarantee security. Why? Because asset prices, stocks, real estate, even education have grown faster than wages. If your wealth isn't growing through ownership, it's shrinking in real terms. That's why more people are turning to side hustles, investing, and digital entrepreneurship. But there's a catch. Not all side hustles create wealth. Many just create more work. Driving for rideshare apps, doing gig work, selling crafts online, these can supplement income, but they rarely build scalable wealth. True wealth building comes when your time decouples from your income, when something you create, own, or invest in keeps paying you after you stop working on it. Let's look at a simple example. Imagine two people, Sarah and Daniel. Sarah works 60 hours a week as a project manager, earning $120,000 a year. Daniel works 40 hours a week as a software developer, making $90,000 a year, but invests 20% of his income in index funds and builds a small app that earns $500 a month. After 5 years, Daniel's investments and app income could generate an extra $50,000 a year even if he stopped adding new hours. Sarah's income might grow a little with promotions, but she's still trading time for money. Daniel built leverage. That's the hidden truth of modern wealth. The people getting ahead aren't necessarily working harder, they're working differently. They're leveraging technology, networks, and ownership to multiply the impact of their effort. This shift also explains why inequality feels so extreme today. According to the World Inequality Database, the top 1% now hold about 45% of global wealth. The bottom half hold less than 1%. It's not just about greed, it's about the mechanics of modern economics. When wealth compounds through ownership and ownership is concentrated, the gap widens automatically. That's why even as GDP rises and unemployment drops, so many people feel stuck. And here's the paradox. Society still celebrates the idea of hard work as the ultimate virtue. We praise hustle culture, long hours, and burnout as badges of honor. But the data shows that the people working the longest hours are often paid the least per hour. In the US, full-time low-wage workers often clock 50 or more hours a week just to survive. Meanwhile, someone managing investments or digital assets may work 20 hours a week and earn 10 times as much. Effort doesn't equal outcome anymore. So what can you do about it? The first step is mindset. Stop seeing work as the only source of wealth. See it as a stepping stone to build assets, skills, networks, intellectual property, or investments that create value beyond your direct labor. The second step is education. Financial literacy, digital fluency, and understanding markets. Knowing how money flows, compounds, and multiplies is more powerful today than simply working longer hours. And the third step is focus. Not every opportunity is equal. The modern economy rewards those who can identify leverage points, automation, scalable products, or audience-driven platforms. That's why creators, coders, and investors often outperform traditional professionals even with less total effort. It's not fair, but it's real. The world changed and the rules of wealth changed with it. Those who adapt will thrive. Those who cling to the old idea that hard work alone leads to success may find themselves running faster just to stay in place. So next time someone tells you to just work harder, remember this. It's not about how many hours you work, it's about what those hours create when you're done. A paycheck disappears, an asset endures. Wealth has shifted from labor to leverage, from time to ownership, from effort to effect. And the sooner you align your work with that reality, the sooner you can start moving from survival to freedom. If you found this insight helpful, make sure to subscribe to Taz's Money, because understanding how money really works today is the first step towards mastering it.
Hard work still matters, but in today's world, it's not the engine of wealth, it's just a spark. The real engine is leverage, ownership, and adaptation. And that's the truth about why working harder doesn't make you rich anymore.